Howdy folks, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles, a slightly unusual episode of Mingles with Jingles because I'm recording this one on Saturday rather than Sunday, ready for upload and publication today on Monday. Why are you doing that, Jingles? Well, I'm not going to be around on Sunday, or Monday, or most of Tuesday for that matter, because my YouTube partner network, BBTV, have organised a little trip to Germany for me. On Sunday afternoon I'm going to be flying out to Dusseldorf, where I'll be playing Eve Valkyrie in virtual reality as a guest of CCP Software. I have to admit, I've been browsing titles in the Oculus Rift store, and Eve Valkyrie did catch my eye. But it's nothing like Eve. Eve is all about controlling massive, dirty, great big, stonking huge capital ships. And in Eve Valkyrie, you sit in the cockpit of a single-engined fighter, while engaging in dogfights around dirty, great, big, stonking, huge, massive capital ships. Although the latest free update for the game, I think it's called Ground Rush, takes the combat from deep space and onto, well, not onto the surface because you're still flying around, but above the surface of various different planets, just for a nice little break in the scenery. So I have to admit to have been a little intrigued about Eve Valkyrie, and now I'm going to get to try it before I buy it. Interestingly, because I was always under the impression that CCP Games were an Icelandic company, but I noticed that Eve Valkyrie has been designed by CCP Newcastle, and, well, CCP are an Icelandic company. They're based in Reykjavik. But Newcastle is my hometown, up in the northeast of England. I didn't even realise that CCP had a studio there, but you'll live and learn. I fully anticipate to be absolutely terrible at the game, of course. I mean, a game like World of Warships, slow, methodical, that's my comfort zone. And this is a very, very intense 3D VR space dogfighting game, so I'll probably be terrible at it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to have fun. I guess we'll see, and there will probably be a video coming at some point in the future because they're going to be capturing all of my gameplay, so you can probably expect an Eve Valkyrie video at some point this week when I get back from Dusseldorf. And for those of you who are sitting there rolling your eyes, because I know there's going to be some of you out there thinking, oh, for God's sake, Jingles, not yet another virtual reality title. How about you talk about games that most of us can actually play? I've just heard the news that Valkyrie is not going to require virtual reality after the next expansion, which apparently is coming out next month. So, you know, people who don't own expensive virtual reality headsets and touch controllers will be able to play Eve Valkyrie just on a regular 2D flat screen monitor with mouse and keyboard, or, you know, joystick, if that's what takes your fancy. Why Dusseldorf, anyway? I mean, they're an Icelandic company, and the game's developed by their studio in Newcastle in the United Kingdom. I think it must have something to do with Gamescom. But isn't Gamescom in Cologne? Well, yeah. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, all I know is I'm getting a free trip to Germany, and I'm getting to play a brand new game for a day. So it doesn't pay to ask too many questions. Stop looking the gift horse in the mouth, Jingles, just enjoy it. I have been trying out quite a lot of new games lately, while still pounding through World of Warships, and as you can tell by the video playing in the background, I succumbed to temptation, despite the allure of the new British battleships, and I have splurged a load of free XP on the Amagi, and it is a glorious ship. Not that I've been doing exceptionally well in it, and the matchmaking hasn't been particularly kind to me. Every game I've gotten into has either been tier 9 or 10. And, of course, I suck at playing battleships. Let's not forget that. But I have been enjoying this ship, and while I haven't done spectacularly well in it, and some of the games have been utter disasters, I have managed some reasonably decent performances. Other games that I've been playing recently... Oh, and by the way, if you can hear a little dog snoring in the background, I do apologise, but Boo's asleep in my lap, and I don't have the heart to wake him up because he hurt himself. He's injured one of his legs, and he's in quite a bit of pain, so he's just snoozing away peacefully in my lap, and I don't really want to disturb him, so sorry, you're just going to have to put up with it. Oh, there he goes. But yes, other games that I've been playing recently. I played a game called What Remains of Edith Finch, and I loved it so much that as soon as I'd finished it, I immediately started a fresh save, played it again from scratch on Twitch, and streamed it, and it did seem to go down very, very well. It's a difficult to explain kind of game. It basically it puts you inside this very unusual house full of secret rooms and trapdoors and secret passages, and you have to find out what it was that happened to the family that used to live there. You have to find out how they all died. It's sort of like it's not really a murder mystery, but it is kind of a mystery sort of detective style game. It's very, very simple. The story is beautifully told, and it's very atmospheric. And it really sort of gave me a taste for other games of that type. So I've been looking around on Steam, and there's a whole bunch of very, very similar titles out there. So a couple of them that I have been playing recently, you may have heard of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. Another fantastically atmospheric game. And it makes quite a few very, very brave design choices as well. Now, it's had mixed reviews because the gameplay, I have to admit, at least so far, is a little repetitive. Once you get over the very, very clever game mechanics that you have to employ to succeed in the game, and the fantastic graphics, it does start to get just a little bit repetitive. I mean, the game mechanics are very clever, but they do overuse them a little. But what impressed me most about the game, it's basically, it tells the story of a Celt who lives, I think, in the Outer Hebrides Islands, which were, unfortunately for the Celts that lived there, around about 1200 years ago, invaded by the Vikings, and they were wiped out. So the story picks up where your entire village and your lover have been brutally murdered and sacrificed by these Viking invaders. And the character that you play is, not to put too fine a point on it, just a little bit psychotic. And that's where, how can I put this? They've actually consulted mental health professionals in order to make your character's delusions as accurate as possible, because that's basically what the game revolves around. Coming back to a village and finding everybody slaughtered pushed her right over the edge. And in other games where you're swinging swords around and people are casting magic spells and so on and so on, you know, they're clearly fantasy games because people are casting magic spells and there are monsters and demons and so on and so on and so on. This game is very much set in reality. But there are magic spells and monsters and demons and so on and so on. But they're all in her mind. They're all the psychosis that she's suffering from. She's imagining everything. It's also a game that's very definitely best played with headphones on, not just because of the very creepy and atmospheric sound effects, but she hears voices. There are voices in her head telling her what to do and what not to do. And again, it's all part of the psychosis that she's suffering from. But it's a very brave choice for the developers to make because, well, you know what it's like. You start doing games, of all things, about mental illness, and people can get triggered real quickly. But it's handled in a very, very delicate and professional way. It's just a shame that, so far at least, the gameplay can be just a little bit repetitive. But I'll probably also be doing a video on this at some point in the near future. Since I broke the news that I've gotten myself a virtual reality setup, a lot of you have been saying, Jingles, go back and play Alien Isolation in VR. And there is a VR mod available for Alien Isolation. It's not officially supported. And it's a little buggy. It doesn't work perfectly. And in my case, I haven't been able to get it working at all. So, well, apart from anything else, no. I mean, I couldn't finish Alien Isolation on a 2D monitor in broad daylight without shitting my pearly pink panties and crying like a little girl. If you think I'm going to be playing that game in VR, you've got another thing coming. Don't get me wrong, I loved Alien Isolation, and it didn't sell very well, which is just amazing. I mean, the game oozes quality, and yet they're not making a sequel because it didn't sell well enough, and I just find that astounding. Then again, it's probably going to save me a lot of money because I would buy it in a heartbeat and then not be able to finish it because I'd be crying like a little girl. and hiding under my desk when the first alien popped out, so I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. Anyway, other games that I've been playing recently, has anybody ever heard of Firewatch? I've been getting a lot of these indie sort of mystery games on Steam, and so far none of them have disappointed me. Firewatch basically tells the story of, well, you play a guy who, for personal reasons, has decided that he just wants to get away from the world for a while and takes on a job as a fire watcher in, I think it's Yellowstone National Park in the USA. And the job basically involves sitting on top of a tower in the middle of nowhere watching for fires, and your only communication with the outside world is via a handheld radio that allows you to talk to your, I suppose, supervisor, for want of a better word, who's doing exactly the same job in another tower about 8 to 10 miles away. At first, the tasks that you have to perform are pretty straightforward, exactly the sort of thing that you'd expect. You're basically there to make sure that the area of the national park under your supervision remains safe. So you chase off teenagers who are out in the woods getting drunk and setting off fireworks, in the middle of a forest. Yeah, idiots. But it soon becomes apparent that there's something strange going on. Someone's recording the conversations that you're having with your supervisor over the radio, and every now and then you'll see somebody off in the distance watching you through a pair of binoculars, but you can never catch them. And I don't want to really tell you any more about the game because we're getting dangerously close to spoiler territory here, but it's something that I'm probably going to start from a fresh save and play on the live stream, because I think it would be a very, very interesting game for people to watch me play. So again, that coming up in the very near future. That's Firewatch. It's another indie game that I got myself on Steam. Another very, very similar indie game that I got on Steam is called Kona. Yeah, I don't know what the name means either. And it's a murder mystery set in French Quebec in Canada, set during one of the worst blizzards and one of the coldest winters in Canadian history. You arrive in the town. Well, it's not really much of a town. There's just a bunch of buildings scattered throughout the woods that happen to be connected to the same road and share more or less the same postcode. And on arrival, are immediately run off the road and crash your car by somebody who, it turns out, is fleeing the scene of a crime. It's a murder mystery. At least at first, it's a murder mystery. You have to find out who it was who murdered the guy that hired you, because you're a private investigator, to come to the town and do some private investigating. But then some really, really weird shit starts happening. Again, veering dangerously close into spoiler territory, and I think this is another game that I'm probably going to be playing on the live stream. It just seems like one of those games that I really think people would enjoy watching me play, and I'm certainly enjoying playing it, although I haven't gotten very far through it, because I thought to myself... See, that was the problem when I did What Remains of Edith Finch. I'd already finished the game, I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I don't know, I just think it's a better experience for the audience if I'm seeing it for the first time at the same time as they are. So I haven't played much of Firewatch, I haven't played much of Kona, because I've decided I'm going to save them for the live stream, so I can enjoy them with you. Another little murder mystery style game that I've been playing recently, and again this is an independent game that I got on Steam, it's called The Sexy Brutale. Yeah, I know, very unusual title. It's not like the others, however, which are all in first-person perspective and would probably work very well as virtual reality games. This is a sort of 2D isometric view of the game world, and it features a very, very interesting mechanic. The basic idea is that you've all been invited to a masked ball held at a casino called the Sexy Brutale, hence the title of the game. But something's going horribly, horribly wrong. Something's wrong with the staff. They all start murdering the guests. Now, you witness events as they unfold over the first evening at the casino, but when the clock strikes 12 at midnight, time rewinds back to the start. But you still have full knowledge of what happened, so it's a bit like Groundhog Day, the movie, where Bill Murray kept living the same day over and over and over again. Just to give you an example of the kind of puzzles involved in the gameplay, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's the very, very first puzzle that you have to solve, so it's not that much of a spoiler. The first thing that happens is that you witness the murder of one of the guests. He's a professor and he gets shotgunned by one of the waiters. So when time rewinds, armed with that knowledge, you can find the shotgun that the waiter's going to use and load it with a blank instead of a live shotgun shell. So when he tries to murder the professor the second time around, nothing happens, the professor can defend himself, and you've just saved your first guest. And that's basically what the game's about. Each guest is going to be murdered, you witness the murders, then time rewinds, you have to figure out how to prevent it before you can move on to the next guest. Oh, and check out this RNG. Earlier, I citadeled Nabuki at a range of 20.1 kilometres. Now, I'm shooting at the broad flat side of a Baltimore at a range of less than 8 kilometres, and every shot I fired missed. Jingles, why don't you play Battleships that often? Yeah. Oh, World of Warships, you so silly. Anyway, that's what I've been getting up to over the course of the last week or so. Some of the new games that I've tried and which I plan to be live streaming over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'm off to Dusseldorf in Germany to play Eve Valkyrie as a guest of CCP Games on Monday. Today, I actually travelled out there yesterday. I won't be back until tomorrow, which means tomorrow, Tuesday, is a Jingles free day. Have yourselves a day off from the salt mines. No video tomorrow because I'll have been in Germany for 3 days and unable to do one. But normal service will resume on Wednesday. Not entirely sure what Wednesday's video is going to be, but it's probably not going to be World of Warships. I think you've probably had quite enough of that after the 3 British Battleships videos that we did last week. Even though I did just manage to 5-star the Defensive Naval Station Newport and get myself a 10-point Japanese captain, which happened right after this game in the Amagi, which means my Amagi now has a 10-point captain. But as for the rest of this week's video content, well, there's almost certainly going to be some World of Tanks. I'm never short of World of Tanks material. Possibly some War Thunder. I haven't done a War Thunder video in a while, other than taking the piss out of War Thunder at the end of the last Why You Have to Be Mad video. But hey, if they can't take a joke, screw them. So yes, there'll probably be some War Thunder. But that is it for today. I have to go and get things ready for flying out to Germany for 3 days. So I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed today's Mingles with Jingles, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.